Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser.
Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. The Ferguson-Florissant School Board voted 6-1 on November 6, 2013 to place Superintendent Art McCoy on administrative leave. That decision created a firestorm of criticism from the district's parents and from the St. Louis media. Later in November, state of Missouri education officials reported someone in the Ferguson-Florissant School District changed records in August of 2012, causing an increase in the student attendance rate. The changed records caused the state to pay Ferguson-Florissant $80 too much. On April 8, 2014, there will be an election to fill the school board seats. Our guest today, Kimberly Benz, would like to be elected to one of those seats. Mrs. Benz is a mother of 4 students in Ferguson-Florissant District. She's also a 1997 Ferguson-Florissant graduate. She has been attending school board meetings for the last year and is troubled by the current direction of the district. If elected, she intends to bring accountability, transparency, and fiscal responsibility to the district. Kimberly Benz, welcome to Conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Well, having said all that I just said there about the troubles of the Ferguson-Florissant School District, why do you want to mess with it?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. And in your intro there was actually $80,000 that the district will owe the state if they need to pay that back. My driving force is that I'm a parent. I'm a parent in the district. I'm a graduate of the district. I have 4 students. My oldest will be in high school next year. My son will then he'll be in middle school, and then I have 2 that they'll still be in elementary school. Mm-hmm. And so I'm invested. I've been a resident of the district almost my entire life. I've been a North County resident my entire life. And so I've been paying attention to the direction of the entire area, of the area schools, as well as our school district. Ferguson-Florissant, I started attending board meetings because I had seen area school districts that had been struggling. They've been struggling financially and they'd been struggling with accreditation. So I started attending board meetings to find out, well, what's the status of our district? And the things that I've been finding out are very troubling.
What do you find most troubling?
It's kind of threefold. Financially, we are struggling. Accreditation, we're on the brink with the new MSIP 5, which is the Missouri School Improvement Program. Mm-hmm. With that program, there's harder standards that the districts must reach in order to remain accredited. And we've been taking our test scores and putting them up against those standards to see where we are at for when those standards become fully enforced. And we're at 69.3%, and you must have 70% in order to remain accredited. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing is, as you mentioned, our school district recently put our superintendent on administrative leave. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of uncertainty as to where's our school district going forward. And I've been a part of the district's past. My kids are part of the district's present. And so I would like to be on the board to influence and ensure that we maintain accreditation for our district's future. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just take a quick side trip to this superintendent issue. Mm-hmm. As everybody knows, or should know, the Normandy School District is in trouble, and as a result of that trouble, they have become unaccredited, and under Missouri's new rules, or they're actually not so new, they were passed a number of years ago, but this I think is the first time that's happened, that students have been flooding out of the Normandy School District into other districts, including up in St. Charles. Mm-hmm. But I understand that your superintendent took on 430 of those students from Normandy, And he took some flack for this, and there is some speculation as to that was the reason that the board was unhappy with him?
Yes, our district has been, it's actually the second highest receiving district. Approximately 1,000 students, just a little bit more, have
really?
left Normandy and Riverview districts together.
Yes.
That 400 and some odd number, that actually changes. We have a very transient area that we live in. So that number has fluctuated throughout the school year and includes both Riverview and Normandy students because we are the neighboring school district. As for the superintendent receiving some flack about receiving those transfer students, I feel that our district has done an amazing job accepting those students into our schools and implementing, them into our system. For instance, my kids, I've told people now and time again that my kids don't even know who the transfer students are. And I think that's the case across the district unless they're planning a play date and they realize that, their friend in their class doesn't live right down the street as some of their other friends in their class. So I think that our district has actually handled those numbers quite well. Now, the uncertainty that I'm actually concerned about is that we have so much out of our district's hands right now. So much is up in the air with the transfer situation, and that is we're waiting to hear from Missouri legislators to find out how those transfers are going to be changed, whether we are going to continue to receive tuition for those transfers. Normandy is expected to get $5 million from the state in order to finish out their school year. And nobody knows where those students are going to be next year or if Normandy will even be around next year. We're all waiting to see. Now our district, and this is actually one of the things that I'm running on, is that our district needs to be prepared for anything. Mm-hmm. And I think that in the past we have not been prepared financially. We've gotten ourselves into some financial straits.
When you say, you mean for your own district's sake, having nothing to do with the Normandy students coming in? Okay. Yes. I just want to clarify so that we know what we're talking about here. Go ahead.
Right. Ferguson-Florissant, it's found itself in its own financial straits because of decreased home values, increased foreclosures within our area. Last August, they actually had put a 75-cent tax increase, tax levy on the August 6th ballot. Yes. And that was defeated by a 58% margin, or 58% of the vote, because the community, the proposition was proposed to the community in a very quick manner with very little information, and the community was really caught off guard. And so the community answered back with basically saying with their vote that we want to know how did we get into a financial situation before you ask us for more money. And so recently I've been digging and asking a lot of questions, and so I've seen recent financial projections, and if nothing is done soon, whether it's cuts in the budget, we may have to go back to the community and ask for an increase. If nothing is done, then we're going to probably be the next Normandy in 3 to 4 years, and I don't want to see that happen.
Now, where is this extra money? Well, at one time, the money you were getting was enough. Now you're saying that the money you're getting is not enough.
Right.
So where are your increased costs?
We haven't really had any increased costs per se. It's just that our revenue is down because of the foreclosures.
Okay, so the income's gone down.
Yes.
And so the board was asking people to compensate for the loss of property value.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Now, as to this other that you were talking about having to do with standard tests and whether or not your district was meeting these, I guess, these knowledge requirements. What is it? Why is it, first of all, that the students are on the line instead of excelling,
Right.
and what can be done from a school board's point of view in order to get them to go from being on the line to being more successful learners.
Okay. Well, actually, those standards are not only academic standards, but they're also based on graduation rate, attendance, and there's a list of other factors that go into our accreditation. Otherwise, as for how can a board member change those, is really the atmosphere of the entire district. If we have an atmosphere where there's community involvement and there's transparency, and where everyone can really invest in feel like they can invest in our district, and that the students are getting coming out with a good education, then I think that our district will build. Right now, our district is not building. We have a lot of people leaving the area, and I think a lot of it has to do with just transparency and community involvement. And so that's what I've been actually working on over the past year, is letting the school know that the community wants to be involved. We want to see our area succeed.
Are you satisfied or dissatisfied with the quality of the instruction that students are getting?
Personally, I'm satisfied. Now, as for when I see the scores, there's definitely a problem. We have a wonderful gifted education program, and I'd recently seen that when you take the test scores of the gifted students, they're at like 95 percentile. And then you look at the rest of the district, and those numbers are showing that students are placing in the 35 and 40 percentile on their test scores. Mm-hmm. Why there's such a gap, I'm not exactly sure. It's really hard for me to believe that it's only that it's socioeconomical situations and that sort of thing. I do feel that if we have more community support in the schools, that those test scores can be raised. But I think we have amazing teachers. I've talked to so many teachers in our district, and they're striving to really get these things across to the kids and get the information out there so they can continue learning.
What have they explained to you is the difficulty with students that are only in the 35% percentile?
I haven't really gotten an explanation on that. I'll be honest, I really haven't.
Have you asked, and they didn't have an answer, or you haven't investigated that yet?
You know, I'm still in the process of investigating a lot of this, of why there is such a gap. Really, again, I keep bringing up transparency. Transparency in our district has been rough. And so I continue to ask the questions, and many of my questions continue to build on and have more questions, and I'm just now really getting a lot of answers. And I'll be honest, I've also been focusing more on the financial aspect too, because if we don't have the finances and we can't provide the learning materials, then obviously we're going to be struggling academically.
So if you're elected to the board, or when you're elected to the board, what is it that you see yourself as doing with the other board members in order to ensure financial stability?
Line by line. I want to go through that budget and just piecemeal and figure out exactly where there is waste, where we can cut without affecting the students directly, if at all possible. I do understand there is a chance that we could end up dipping into some programs, but if we could have that minimal. Obviously, like music and stuff like that is always mentioned, and I don't want to ever touch those. Okay. But really, until I get onto the board, I won't really be able to see what programs are working, and I really need to talk to and take in as much information as I can before making any of those decisions.
Do you see that that the other board members are part of a team?
Yes, somewhat. Now, as you had mentioned, the vote was 6-1, They had actually, when they put Dr. McCoy, our superintendent, on administrative leave, one of the things that they had said was that there was philosophical differences. And so I'm not sure how far that extends amongst the board members themselves. Actually, I'll be honest, I don't even know what philosophical differences is supposed to mean. Everybody keeps asking that question. However, our district is, when I say pivotal point, there's several things that are going on right now that I'm looking forward to as a school board member if elected. And number one is, with the superintendent, the current board will most likely decide his fate. And I feel that I could work with him easily if they decide to keep him. But I'm also fully prepared to look at all of the candidates that are available if my first task is to potentially hire a new superintendent. And secondly, we're also in the process of creating the strategic plan for our district. And that strategic plan is a 3-year plan. I've participated in all the steps leading up to development of that plan. I've had a one-on-one interview with the strategic planning firm that's developing it. I've attended all of the meetings about the financials. I actually have a meeting next week about specifically addressing accreditation, which after that meeting I'd be able to answer better questions along those lines for you.
What date would that be?
That is on March 3rd, on Monday.
So by the time some people see this, that will already occurred.
Yes. And also by that point, if they want to contact me and get my views on that, they can also contact me on my website or my email address.
Right. And that we're putting on the screen
I thank you.
That information so that people can find a way to get in touch with you.
I thank you. The strategic plan, however, like I said, it's going to be implemented. It's actually going to be adopted by the new board and implemented over the next 3 years, which would be my entire term, first term on the school board.
This is a 3-year term, you say?
This is a 3-year term, yes. Okay. So that's why I feel that it's really pivotal that we get people on the school board that are willing to not only do the hard work, but also really go in there with a clear, open mind and put the kids, put their goals first, and their education is really, I mean, like I said, I'm invested. My kids are in the school. So any decision that I would make as a board member is not only as a board member, but also as a parent. Mm-hmm. My kids will be directly affected by any decisions that I make, and I think that brings a little bit different perspective.
Mm-hmm. For those who don't know what a strategic plan is, can you explain to them what that is and how it affects their students? Yes,
the strategic plan basically lays out the mission, vision, and goals of the district. And so, for instance, I talk about having financial stability. That actually lays out the plan of, okay, these are the areas that we're going to focus on where we can make sure that we ensure that we are financially stable. And then also, again, with accreditation, okay, these are the areas that we are definitely not going to touch when making those cuts, because these directly affect the academic success of those students. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole process. They've been interviewing teachers, they've been interviewing administrators, members of the community, parents, etc., to really bring everybody to the table and get everybody's view as to the direction that our district is going. And it covers a wide range of categories.
When you're attending current meetings, do you get the sense that the board members are striving to get to a particular goal, or are they just churning around goallessly? That's not the right word, but just, blindly, I guess is the right word.
I wouldn't say they're going blindly. We have several board members who have been on the board for several years.
More than one term, you're saying?
Yes, we have one particular board member who's been on the board for over 20 years, and I look at some of those board members who have been on the board for so long and ask, well, why didn't you see this coming? Why didn't you see our test scores dropping or not reaching the standard? that's going to be expected. That's the thing, is I'm not really getting any answers. And so that's why when you don't get any answers, well, that's when you jump in there and you start to, you decide to throw your hat in the ring and figure out, okay, well, if I'm not getting any answers from them, then maybe I can go in there and find some solutions.
And this board member doesn't feel that he or she owes the community an answer to that question?
I can't speak for her.
It's a her.
Yes.
Okay. Is this a candidate that's currently running?
No, she's not running. She was reelected last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. That almost sounds pretty arrogant, or at least it would. I mean, me as an outsider who has no knowledge, just based upon what you said, when if I were going to my school board and asking a question, I'd expect answers.
Right now, our school board is not answering any questions really with anything. And I've emailed our school board. There are some school board members that do respond to emails, but otherwise, right now they're very, very hush-hush, almost because they have to be with the Dr. McCoy situation. But
well, this is not the Dr. McCoy situation.
Yes, but with that,
this is like, how come you didn't see the financial problems? That's the main focus of a school board, is actually to run as business agents. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not in the education business, you're in the business of running a business.
Yes, I look at it as the economic downturn has been going on for 10 years, and so we really should have taken the proper steps to be prepared so that we weren't in a state of crisis, per se, mm-hmm. as we are now.
Well, I know it's hard to say, sitting here, not being a member of the board, not knowing all the internals that are going on. Assuming that you were elected, mm-hmm. assuming that it's now like you're in 2 years into your term, mm-hmm. what would you expect to have accomplished at the end of 2 years, so that in that third year you could go back to people and say, yeah, I've done this, that, and the other, please re-elect me?
Well, first of all, we need to improve community confidence. People don't have confidence in our district right now, which is why they're not wanting to give more of their tax dollars to the district. We have a lot of families that are either moving out of the area, which is obviously contributing to the foreclosures in the area, et cetera, and the lower revenue. And we also have a lot of families who are choosing to go to parochial school or even homeschool. And I respect their decisions to do that, but I find it sad that they don't feel confident in our public school system in order for them to feel that their students are getting a good education there. And so as a school board member, that's what I want to talk to those families that are leaving. I want to talk to those families who are sending the kids to parochial schools. I want to find out, what are we doing that we can, what can we do better? I want to talk to, excuse me, I want to talk to the families that are in our district and find out, what are your concerns. We don't have any communication right now between the board. Many people in our district don't even know who the board members are. They had no idea until we suddenly started getting on the news about the superintendent situation, who the president of the board is. If you don't vet your candidates and you don't know your candidates, they are the representatives of you as a taxpayer. They are representing you. They are representing your kids. And so if you don't know who those people are and you don't communicate with them and they don't communicate with you, then how are they ever going to represent you the way you want them to represent you? So
in 2 years you would expect that people in your district would know who you are, yes. and that you were willing to listen to what it is that yes. To answer questions that they have.
Yes,
and
most
perhaps
definitely.
Solve problems. I don't know that you'll be able to solve housing problems.
Right. That's
and foreclosure issues, because
right.
that might be a larger issue.
Right.
We have about 5 minutes to the end of this
okay.
program, and at this point I always tell the guest, if there are things that we haven't talked about yet, now's the time that I want you to jump in there and start talking about them.
Okay. Well, I think you actually covered most of my concerns that I've been having. I know that I'm trying to run a very positive campaign. I've reached out to the other candidates and I've let them all know that I'm ready and willing to work with any of them, no matter who gets elected on April 8th.
What's been their response generally, if any?
Actually, very, very cordial. We have not had a very, it might change after we have a candidate forum next week on March 6th. That'll be held at McClure High School Hub at 7 p.m. So that's going to be the first chance that we all really get on one panel and to answer questions and really kind of show distinctions between us. But up until this point, everybody's been very cordial, and I think we all have one common goal, and that is for the best interest of the district. And I've also let them know that win or lose on April 8th, I'm not going anywhere. I've been around before all of these concerns, and I'm not going anywhere after. And so I just hope that I have the opportunity actually on the school board to make a difference, because I feel that I can do more there than being on the outside. Mm-hmm. But I'm willing to work with all of them. I'm willing to work with the current school board. I've been in contact with several of those school board members. And everyone is very encouraging, because they know that I have a love and a passion for the district. I mean, this is my home. We moved actually back to Florissant specifically for our kids to go to Ferguson-Florissant School District. And so I want the district to succeed. I want my kids to succeed. I want my neighbors' kids and all the kids in the district to do the best they can so that they can be the future of our community.
It's a pretty good sized district. I looked up, I believe it's somewhere around 10,300 students in the district. And actually, about 1,300 or 1,500 employees.
We have just over 11,000 students right now. We used to have, and this was before the big housing bubble, we used to have over 14,000 students. The transfers have actually bumped us back up. Our student attendance had gotten pretty low for a while there. Mm-hmm. But yes, it's a pretty large district. It includes all of Florissant, all of Ferguson, Berkeley, Cool Valley, Kenlock, and the southern area there around the airport. And so yes, it's a very large district.
Mm-hmm. And if the Normandy situation doesn't get solved, you're prepared to work with the parents of that district and take even more of their students in?
If that is what we are told we need to do, I'm more than willing to talk to those families and find out their needs. And specifically, you're a parent right now. I'm talking to you as a parent. How do parents feel about students from another district coming in and taking spaces in their district? As long as resources are there, I don't think that the families in our district have too much of an issue. I know that there have been some districts that were concerned about whether, if the Normandy students are coming in and they have not, they've lost accreditation and they're not getting the test scores that they need to keep, how is that going to affect our district? And I've had those concerns also. How are those test scores are they going to bring our test scores down even further? And that's just something that we're going to have to combat. I mean, these kids, they need an education no matter where they are. And honestly, if it means coming to our district or going to Hazelwood or going to a district that's closer to home and closer to their neighborhoods, I think that's definitely a much better option than riding a bus for an hour out to St. Charles or South County.
You've made some very excellent points. I want to thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
It's been a really pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And to my audience, I've been speaking with Kimberly Benz. She is a school board candidate in the Ferguson-Florissant School District.